there are no strings on me.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Carnage, your Primitive AK here, back with another video for you guys today. Today we're going to be covering the best graphics and PC settings for the beta over on PC. We actually covered all the settings over on PS4 and Xbox and also controller settings. So if you guys haven't checked that video out, annotations for those videos will be on screen. Make sure you guys go ahead and check them out so you guys don't miss that. But if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe. We're going to be covering the graphics settings for PC because a lot of people want to know what the best graphics overall settings are. Now, obviously, the graphics are going to be very dependent on what type of PC you have, but these are settings that have worked for me. I do play on an i7 processor paired with a 2080 graphics card. So, first things first. Obviously, your input device is going to need to be set to controller. If you're on a controller, mouse and keyboard, obviously keyboard and mouse. Gameplay behavior, I have my crouch set to toggle, prone behavior set to toggle as well, sprint behavior set to go to, walk behavior and airborne behavior are all set to default, so I don't really change any of these settings here. Keybinds, obviously you'll need to change this to your liking based on your keyboard settings. Now, your display settings for graphics on PC, very quickly, you're going to need to go through this. I strongly recommend you play in full screen. Now, for some reason, some of these other options say that they actually decrease your VRAM usage, but that's actually lying to you. You want to make sure that you're on full screen, and if you need to tab out, just go ahead and hit Alt-Tab, so that way you can rotate across, you know, whatever settings you need to do. Monitor, make sure you have it set to whatever monitor you're using. Obviously, I have a 3 to 4 monitor setup, so my monitor that I use is the main one, which is number 1, so I have it set to that. Your refresh rate, this depends on what monitor you have. Now, I have a 60 Hz monitor, meaning that my game will not go above 60 frames per second, or it will go above 60, but the refresh rate of my monitor is not going to go above 60. So whatever your monitor is, you need to set it to that. So in my case, I have a 60 Hz monitor and a 60 frames per second monitor, so I have this set to 60. There's no sense going any higher than that. VSync, I don't recommend using VSync. I kind of just custom set my frame rate limit. I don't use VSync or anything like that. So if you do have a VSync monitor on your graphics card, you need to make sure that your graphics card is enabled for that. But otherwise, leave this both on disabled. Render resolution, I have this set to 100%. My highest resolution that I can achieve on my main monitor is 1920 by 1080, so you want to make sure that you're setting your monitor to your actual render resolution. So in my case, that's 1080p, so make sure this is on 100, and then display resolution, set it to 1920 by 1080. Whatever your highest resolution is. If you play on 2K, then this would be 2560 by 1440. Aspect ratio, I set this to automatic, no need to change it. Colorblind, leave this on disabled. Field of view, 103. ADS field of view, this is very same setting we had in Modern Warfare. Leave this on affected. Do not put this on independent. It's a terrible setting. You shouldn't be using it at all. Frame rate limit, I have it set to custom. Now, your gameplay custom frame rate limit is set to 60. This is essentially the same thing as VSync, except you're not using the actual VSync system. You're using your own custom frame rate limit, so I decided to set this to 60. Menu custom frame rate limit, basically when I'm in the actual menu like how I am right now, I have it set to 60. If you want to save on data, you can decrease that down to 30, but I recommend just leaving it on 60. Texture quality, I have it set to high. You can turn this down to medium if you're using up a lot of data space, but I like to set it on high because the graphics look absolutely amazing on high. I don't put it on ultra because it actually maxes out your settings. You don't want to use too much VRAM in this case. Texture filtering, I leave this on high. Model quality, I leave it on high. Special effects quality, I leave it on high. Screen space reflection, I leave this on low. Doesn't really do much for your game, so I kind of just leave that on low. You could even disable it if you want to. Object view distance, set this to medium. This is basically how accurate objects will be appearing on screen at a certain distance. Volumetric lighting, you could actually turn this down to medium if you want to. For those that play other PC games, this is very similar to a setting known as volumetric fog. This is a similar setting that actually eats up a lot of your GPU, so I recommend leaving that on enabled or high. Depending on what type of PC you have, if you have a very high-end PC, you can leave this on high without losing too much graphics quality. And shadow quality, I leave this on ultra. You can turn this down if you are noticing some performance issues, but like I said, I play on a very high-end PC, so I leave that on ultra. Dynamic shadows, I leave this on all. If you don't care about shadows, you can turn this on disabled. That way you can save a little bit on your VRAM. Shadow effects, special effects shadows, I leave it on enabled. Weapon shadow, I leave it on enabled. NVIDIA Reflex low latency. This is the same setting that we had in Modern Warfare. I talked about this in another video. Leave this on enabled. Do not put this on enabled boost. And the reason for that is because this game is experiencing some very severe crashing issues right now. And we're not entirely sure how this game is going to run. So don't run this on enabled boost. Just leave it on enabled. And if you're not noticing anything with it at all, you could just completely disable it if you want to. But if you want to get the most out of your graphics card, leave this on enabled. Don't put it on boost. Anti-aliasing, completely disable it. I don't really see a need for it, so I just leave it on disabled. Motion blur, leave this on disabled. There's no sense needing motion blur. I explain this in all of my settings videos. Subsurface scattering, I leave this on enabled. Order independent transparency, I leave it on high. Display gamma, defaulted to computer sRGB. Display adapter, obviously your graphics card, whatever your graphics card is, that's what you're going to be setting it to. Mine's on auto select. CPU priority management, I leave it on automatic. You can set this to manual if you're noticing performance issues, so that way you can change it if you need to, but I don't really feel a need to that. Audio settings and also interface and everything else, we discussed this in previous videos, so if you guys want to check those out, link to those will be in the description of this video. But anyways guys, that's overall the best graphics settings that I use for my game and have helped me out. My game looks incredibly sharp, and it's very easy for me to see people at long to extreme ranges. Hopefully this helped you guys out. I will catch you guys in the next one. It's your boy Carnage, your Primitive AK, signing out. Peace out fellas, enjoy the beta.